years ago this year, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was signed into law by President Lyndon Johnson, outlawing discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin, and ended racial segregation in workplaces, public facilities, and in schools. An upcoming panel discussion at the Library of Virginia will be taking a look at the personal histories of some of the locals who were part of the freedom struggle, including our guest today, educational historian Dr. Carmen Foster and retired VCU Associate Professor Dr. Edward Peeples, Jr. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
What was your response when you were asked to participate in this event?
I was pretty excited to be able to be with Ed. I mean, we've known each other for a while.
I was going to say, your history goes back a ways, doesn't it?
It does. And even though you'll find in our conversation with our narratives, generationally, we may have different perspectives. And also, we come from different cultures. You'll find that we've been exploring a lot of interface between that in terms of where he was doing different things and where I was doing similar things, particularly with the Tallheimers. Strike and boycotts in 1960, and we've just been having a good time chatting to get prepared for this. We're excited about being at the Library of Virginia.
And Dr. Peoples, Tallheimers is one of the things in your history. You were there for the
I was
protest.
there for the first one, first sit-in on a Saturday, and the ones the students were arrested at was on the next Monday. So they threw me out of the store because they didn't want to see a white person dissent from segregation. So they threw me out on 6th Street, the cops did, and they didn't arrest anybody that day.
This panel discussion is a wonderful opportunity for people to hear the personal stories. As Dr. Peoples, you've recently written a book that was just published that tells your story. Why did you decide you wanted to put pen to paper for that?
Well, I was talked into it by a historian from Duke, who came to my house to learn about Prince Edward County, which I had a history there. I had done some documentation, and I'd been an activist in Prince Edward County when the schools were closed, and I'd done some documentation that became briefing information for the Kennedy administration. And so I had a reputation for knowing something about Prince Edward, one of the early people. And so she came to see me and showed up on my doorstep, read some of my vignettes that I had written that I had never intended to publish, and she said, "This got to be a book, I'll help you." And she did, and this is what we got.
And you grew up in Richmond, so you tell your story from a perspective of living the decades that you had.
And I grew up South Richmond in a virulent segregationist culture, and we did shameful things to black people, and I worked my way, by the time I was 19, I had experiences that brought me to a different place, and for 60 years I've been working in that different place.
And Dr. Foster, you recently finished your dissertation, and you tell your story from a perspective of growing up in a different part of Richmond.
That's right. I was born in Jackson Ward and then grew up in Byrd Park and went to West End Elementary School, which was a segregated elementary school, but a great place to learn. Our teachers were absolutely amazing, very caring and dedicated, and it was quite a shift when desegregation came in Richmond, and I went from West End School to Benford Junior High School, and Benford at the time was white, and I didn't find the caring, I didn't find the sense of nurturing, and part of schooling is socializing with your classmates. And instead of socializing with these new kids, they kind of looked at us a little strangely. It was very disconcerting.
We're looking at a picture of you from back in the day.
Oh, good. As you can see, that picture there was from Albert V. Narl Elementary School. I found in my research that some of the experiences I had at West End School were very similar to the students at Albert V. Narl when they went from Narl to Graves Junior High School. You can see the picture there. To go from Graves to Chandler Junior High School. One of the interesting things about Graves Elementary, and many of those people in fact had master's degrees. You'll find that in the African American community, the state did not want educators to go to UVA, places like UVA, so they would actually pay for them to go get a graduate education somewhere else. Columbia, NYU, Michigan. I had two uncles that got their master's degrees from Michigan. So there was a real quality of the faculty staff. But when I think about the school itself, the schools were really in bad condition. And unfortunately, for black students, we wound up getting the leftovers from the white schools when they were outdated and not usable anymore.
So who else is taking part in this panel discussion? It sounds like it's going to be fascinating.
Judge Jim Benton, who was on the appellate court of Virginia, who's a pioneer himself, and also an attorney in the Oliver Hill practice, and he took up some of the cases that I think Henry Marsh referred to as cleaning up the civil rights case of Brown. And so he'll be our moderator. And what a great story he has to tell. We're sorry he isn't. His life will be featured sometime in the future, we hope.
As we talk about, this is a wonderful opportunity for the public to come and hear recent history. This really is living history.
That's right. Many times some people say, oh, that's in the past, but it's not in the past. I lived it, and I'd like to think I'm young enough when I talk to people to explain to them this is truly living history, and it's been interesting to see the changes. I think one of the things I found out as I explored my dissertation, I began to wonder, the more things change, do they remain the same? And so that's been a question for me as we start looking at what's going on in schooling then and schooling now.
And we see how contemporary confrontations in race today still bring back what we saw in the early days.
Well, let's tell folks they can go to Personal History, Civil Rights in Black and White panel discussion Tuesday, September 9th at noon at the Library of Virginia, and the lecture hall is absolutely free. We'll put more information on our website at WTVR.com.
And Dr. will be available too.
Scallywag is also available.
If you're interested.
Thanks to Drs. Carmen Foster and Edward Peeples Jr. and all of our guests here today on Virginia This Morning. Join us back here tomorrow at 9. I'll see you later today for the CBS 6 News at noon. Have a great day.